Welcome back to JK Investigates Iron Kate. Now, when William and Kate married at Westminster Abbey in 2011, over 1 million people lined the route from BP, whilst it's estimated that part of the ceremony was viewed by over 36 million people in the UK and millions more around the world. But it hasn't always been easy for Kate on her journey to becoming the new Princess of Wales. The couple met originally at St Andrews University and quickly became fodder for the press. And the headlines weren't always the most complimentary. Many will say that, shall we say, upstaged by her younger sister Pippa's backside at her own wedding. But despite all of that, it's fair to say that Kate has impressed and wowed the public as a princess, a wife and a mother. And here's what talkTV's royal editor Sarah Hewson had to say about Kate.
This was a meeting that took place at university, St Andrews University. It might not ever have happened because she'd originally applied to Edinburgh University. Then she decided to take a gap year in Italy and Chile and crewing yachts in the Solent and reapplied and went to St Andrews University. Now, it was suggested that that might have been engineered by her mother, that after it became clear that Prince William was going to St Andrews University, perhaps was there a steering of her daughter in the right direction. They were in halls of residence together. They initially started studying history of art together. William changed to geography in the end, but they became good friends. He had spotted her. I think she was dubbed the prettiest girl in halls and St Salvator's, or Sally's, halls of residence, as it was known. They became friends. In their second year, they moved into a flat together with two others, and they were able then to have a relationship out of the spotlight, a friendship first and foremost. And then there was the moment when Kate took part in a charity fashion show, and that famous photograph of her in the sheer dress, and William is said to have turned round to one of his friends and said, "Wow, Kate's hot." And the relationship went from friendship to more. They managed to keep it out of the press, and of course there was an agreement with the media that Prince William would be left alone while he was at university. But it was after university that really Kate came into the public eye. I remember vividly, I think it was her 25th birthday, as she came out of her flat in Chelsea and she was walking to go to work, and she ran the gauntlet of photographers there, and it was said to have been reminiscent of Diana before her wedding. At that point, there was a lot of focus on Waity Katie. Were they not going to get married? Would he pop the question?
There was a time when they split, wasn't there? And she played the game really well and said, "I'm not interested." And it was he who got her back. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely right. They did split for a brief time. I think the pressure was on William's shoulders. Was he going to marry this woman? And after the breakdown of his own parents' marriage, and that very public breakdown, he was understandably very cautious about finding the right person. She played it very cannily. She's said to have dated one of his friends, but she never, ever said a word. She kept her counsel. She looked fabulous. She went out, and eventually that relationship was rekindled. We don't know exactly when. It was a matter of months, perhaps into a year. But in their engagement interview, she said that split, difficult as it was, had actually made her a stronger person. And once they were back together, I think she'd pretty much got assurances from him that this was the real deal, and that this was going to end up with her walking down the aisle at Westminster Abbey, as we saw in April 2011.
Amazing. Michael Cole's still with me, and joining us our historian Tessa Dunlop, and live from LA, my favourite host of the Die For Daily podcast, Kinsey Schofield. She was there, now she's there. You love Princess Diana. Can I just, her predecessor, can I start with you, Michael? It's quite interesting. We talked in the first part about how, she really was, in terms of the royal family, that commoner. And I reckon, and I would love to know what you think, that the fact that she managed to earn the public's respect was because the endearment came from how normal she was perceived to be. Would that be fair?
The magic ingredient is love. Old-fashioned love. They are in love. And that has been something that's been missing in too many royal marriages.
You can tell it, can't you?
You can. OK, degrees in Scotland, 4 years, not 3. They had time to get to know each other. So what if she went out and she wanted him? She had ambition. Nothing wrong with ambition. And she pulled it off, by goodness, didn't she?
Yeah.
She did. And hasn't he benefited from that? And I think it's also important, and perhaps the ladies have got a view on this, she's a little bit older than William, and young ladies tend to be slightly more mature than young men.
How much older is she?
6 months or so.
Smidgen, yeah.
Oh, a
6
smidgen.
months. 6 months, yeah, 6 months. But that is important at that particular age. And she was the leader in her family. She was the pathfinder for her sister, Pippa, who you've mentioned, at school and so on. And then they had an eye on their brother, James. And that is important. She knows who she is. She's a leader in the family, and she's a leader in their family. And I happen to know, on very good authority, that they are brilliant with their children. They're bringing them up in the most normal way as they possibly can, and they're very strict. There are boundaries. They're on their cases. It's not just left to the nanny. They're hands-on parents, and they're doing very well. And also, she's putting a lot of photographers out of business with her brilliant photographs.
She's a fan. I think we can confirm Michael's a fan.
Are you a fan? Because I have to say, you know, there were, when they first got together, there were press stories. Weighty Katie. I remember when he was at Sandhurst and she went with her mother, and her mother was caught chewing gum, and the press were awful about, oh, middle-class people chew gum. Yeah, right. The way she's dealt with that in a really calm way, again, has garnered huge respect, Tessa.
Yeah, what was so interesting about the Weighty Katie staff and all the rumours about, oh, did she or didn't she select St Andrews and dump Edinburgh because she wanted to marry the heir to the throne, or who would become the heir to the throne? And in my head, it was always, so what? To my mind, that would make her a better Princess of Wales, because you're not just marrying the man, you're marrying the job. And as we've seen countless times, whether you check out Diana or Meghan's story, you need more than just love to make it work.
I think
you have to want to do the
I
gig.
think that the university thing and everything, and I think the split and everything. Have we got the sheer dress? Because I reckon this tactic was, I mean, that was some tactic, wasn't it? They look at that. So he's dumped her. She's gone out with one of his friends and walked down the. I mean, that's blindingly clever, isn't it?
This is before the dump.
Whatever. Why did he dump her after that?
Well, exactly.
Because, you know, when you have something every day, one becomes complacent, Jeremy.
Really?
Yes, darling. But I think what's interesting about Kate is, and I think why she's weirdly inspirational, although she seems very conventional, is you're right, her family do come from quite humble stock. They hell-bent on getting their kids to public school, private school as we call it in Britain. And that, of course, provides you with the code and the stiff upper lip for surviving in the institution.
I agree. And you know that thing about never complain and just carry on? Interestingly, OK, and the reason this is not a shallow comment, and I'll bring you in, Kins, in a minute if I can. Even on her wedding day, when she was overshadowed by her sister's bum, let's be perfectly honest, right?
Oh
you never hear this woman. And from...
I looked away.
Never, no, you didn't. from never commenting and keeping that stiff upper lip and it being organic, Tess, right? Not, oh, we're going to train her how to be the Princess of Wales and, you know what happened with Meghan. It seems natural and it seems normal. And I think that resonates with people. I really do.
Also, she's given it time. They've had time. They were university sweethearts. Not that many of us stick with the person we meet at university and keep going on that long. And also stay in the same job, grow in the job. Yeah. And what she's done is, in many ways, it's too easy to make comparisons with Meghan, but she's worked for change on the inside.
Yeah, I really...
That's the key difference.
That's really interesting. If I can bring in my dearest friend, Kinsey Schofield, for the Die For Daily podcast, massive fan, you based your life around Princess Diana. This was obviously Kate's predecessor. Do you see similarities? What is your opinion of Kate Middleton from across the pond, Kins?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do see similarities, but I don't think that she makes an effort to be similar to Princess Diana. I mean, I especially see them when it comes to all of her effort in, early childhood development. And, before she was William's wife, she was visiting hospice, children's hospices, and she wasn't telling anyone. And no one found out about it until years later, which is something very similar to Princess Diana. So children have always been near and dear to her heart. But I just love that Prince William loves her. And I do think that whole college courting, all of that is so exciting. William karaokeing to Suspicious Minds to her, and them, early morning laps in the pools together. Them kissing in alleyways and their roommates not knowing they're dating. I love all of that. I just think
Kissing
that it's
in
all so
alleyways?
romantic.
Kissing in alleyways? I tell you what I wanted to ask you from an American point of view, because you and I have talked about Meghan, and I'm not getting Dunlop involved in this, Meghan Markle, and I don't want her to be a part of this because this is about Kate. I actually think what Tessa just said is one of the best things she's ever said on this show, which is that Kate has affected change from inside rather than stamping around and trying to change the world and ending up nothing more than a social influencer. Do you think that Kate got public opinion on her side because she's just brilliant, or do you think the Meghan debacle helped her, Kinsey?
I don't think the Meghan debacle helped her, no. I think that Meghan has created a fierce divide along royal watcher lines. And, you know, I think that Kate did take advice from the Queen early on when she was just dating William. The Queen would quietly suggest, why don't you start getting involved in charities? The Queen kind of pushed her to go back to work after she'd quit a retail job because she wanted Kate to appear as ambitious as she knew that she was. So I think that Meghan has not helped Kate. I think that it's created some unwanted negativity towards her. And I think it's really unfortunate because Catherine's a wonderful human being.
I think the key here is less about the individuals, Meghan and Catherine or Kate, and it's about those people who associate with the respective women. And socially conservative individuals tend to be more keenly associated with Kate, and certainly the more conservative press comes out always for Kate. And for Meghan, it tends to be younger, it tends to be not necessarily more progressive, but those who might think that they're more progressive. And therefore, it feeds into this culture war idea, which is
I disagree with you.
sad.
Could say that I think that Iron Kate is so good, even The Guardian love her.
Yeah, that's true. Now, that is true. Interestingly, it was
That's how normal she is.
It was extraordinary. Gabby Hinsliff wrote this extensive piece, but she too recognised that Kate's people tended to be more socially conservative and Meghan's the opposite. Now, that's not the fault of the two respective women. It's just the way the fault line in our culture wars lie.
I know that the Queen Mother, 10 seconds, would have thought that Kate is class.
Yeah. She's clever. She admired Diana, she said that, but she didn't try to be her. And the transition has been totally accepted. Nobody has said a word about it. She is the Princess of Wales.